Why didn't you bring Gina with you? Why drag her away when she's busy studying? He muttered under his breath, wishing his mom would think about herself for once, instead of always focusing on her kids. He sighed and hung up. But then, why did he feel so let down that it was his mom calling? Who was he really hoping it would be? Jin-Woo shoved his phone into his pocket, looked up, and smiled. The spark in his eyes was back. Big thanks to the guys in the Knights Guild. He'd get to breathe dungeon air once more. They were talking about an A-rank gate, which was basically as tough as an S-rank. It felt like ages since he'd had a real challenge. Was it really only a week ago that he got back from Jeju Island? Jin-Woo had easily beaten a B-rank red gate before without much trouble, but now his heart was pounding with excitement as he looked forward to the next day's raid. All the top hunters from the Knights Guild were gathered, eager and ready. They knew this mission was risky. There could be no escape if it turned out to be a red gate. The anticipation was electric. Everything was going to be alright, because Jin-Woo Sung would join them on this raid. Yurim screamed with joy when she heard the news. The other hunters were thrilled too. They all felt safer knowing Jin-Woo was coming along. But there was one person who wasn't so calm. Jong-soo, the guild master. He nervously waited for Jin-Woo to arrive. Why didn't I just make him come yesterday? Jong-soo thought, glancing at his watch anxiously. The clock ticked down to 11,000 a.m. Just 5 minutes away. That's when the raid was supposed to start. Jin-Woo had promised to be there on time, but Jong-soo scanned the area and saw no sign of him. His stomach twisted with worry. They couldn't begin without Jin-Woo. The association had handed over the permit as soon as they heard Jin-Woo was joining. After all, his name as an S-rank hunter carried a lot of weight. Should they go in without Jin-Woo? That was the big question. John's glance at the strike squage face was filled with excitement and anticipation. If Jin-Woo didn't show up, the team might decide to call off the raid themselves before the association even had a chance to cancel it. With only 3 minutes left, Jong-soo's hand instinctively went for his phone, but he took a deep breath and put it back in his pocket. The wait was getting harder by the second. It felt pretty rude to call someone who had already reached out 10 minutes ago and said they were on their way, but Jong-soo didn't pick up on any weird vibes in the area. He went searching for something to chill out and ended up popping a cigarette in his mouth. Where in the world are you, Hunter Jin-Woo? Meanwhile, Jin-Woo walked out of his apartment building. Jin-Woo wore cozy clothes and sneakers. He glanced at his watch, which was 1 minute to 11. Looking up, he saw gray clouds piling up. Did Gina bring an umbrella? The thought popped into his head, but disappeared just as fast. Time to go. Jin-Woo pulled up his hood and smiled to himself. First, he turned on stealth, then used shadow exchange. In a blink, he switched places with his shadow soldier. Meanwhile, at Gina's high school, 3 guys were grumbling about running an errand for their art teacher. This feels like forced labor, one said. Totally. Another agreed. Why are we doing the teacher's job? They complained. But they still headed to the second art classroom, which was being used for storage. They unlocked the door and stepped inside. Butch. A big cloud of dust greeted them. Look at all this dust. One coughed. The room hadn't been used in ages, so it was super dusty. Scattered around the room were beat-up art supplies, half-finished sketches, and a bunch of model statues for drawing practice. How many statues did he ask for again? Someone wondered aloud. I think 6, another replied. Since there are 6 groups. One of them groaned. Even if we each carry 1, it'll take at least 2 trips. Someone joked. Unless you can haul 4 at once. They rolled up their sleeves and got ready to start. But then, as one of them reached for a statue in the corner, something weird caught his eye. Huh? He muttered. The others stopped what they were doing and walked over, curious about his strange tone. Hey, that's... He trailed off, pointing at the wall. There, staring back at them, was a massive black hole. It was a gate as tall as a person. One of the students, a tall guy, checked it out and laughed. No big deal, he said. He put his hand on the gate. It's locked, so it's totally safe. Only hunters can go in, and nothing comes out. But then Fulig, Crack appeared on the gate, and a hand shot out and grabbed the student's head. What? He shouted. He tried to wriggle free, but the grip was super strong. Then, shrunch. A sharp cracking sound filled the air, like someone had smashed a walnut. Blood sprayed everywhere, splattering the two students nearby. Jigada, on one of them shrieked in horror. Junsuk, another cried out, their voices trembling with fear, as they stumbled back, covered in blood and shock. The black gate behind them shattered like broken glass. Suddenly, a flood of magical creatures poured into their world, each one more terrifying than the last.